Andy. This is Colin. I won't be able to get in tonight. I'm sweating like a pig. 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 I'm sweating like a pig.
Welcome to the Dome.
The Dome.
The Dome.
Yes. I'm John Simon. We have guest Victoria Sturgeon along with Sam Sturgeon, and today we are going to give you a ton of spoilers on the movie Dune.
Mm-hmm.
This is a review without any sort of images, so YouTube and other people with weird algorithms don't take this off long.
Yeah.
We're
Now,
coming after you.
And I do want to say, we just watched the new release, the remake of Dune, and that's what the whole review is going to be over. And honestly, there's not a lot of spoilage if you're familiar with the Dune saga already. There are things we will be spoiling, I'm sure, just because of how it was redone or remastered. But if you know the story of Dune, don't worry, we're not going to spoil very much of that at all. So.
And on that note, I do have to agree, this movie was made more for people who already know the story. Because too much background stuff was hinted at that if you don't know... Yeah, this remake was really done for the fan base. And if you're new to Dune, don't worry, being confused and feeling awkward about everything is perfectly normal when it comes to Dune. Yeah. So, and being lost until someone else smarter than you explains it to you.
Dune is a mountain and you must climb it.
It's a shifting mountain.
It's a shifting mountain with worms in it. But
so it needs to go to the vet.
Oh, I don't think so. There's no hope for Dune. It's miserable and it likes being miserable.
I do want to start that, yes, this is a part one for the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It ends pretty much when Paul meets the Fremen.
Once he's accepted into the Fremen tribe.
Yeah.
Part one ends about halfway through the first book. Which I was happy that they ended it. They gave it that. Here's where this is at. Because part 2's gonna be fucking awesome when that comes out.
Well,
that's the one I'm really excited for now.
I did hear that they do want to go past the first Dune.
Yeah.
But they want to skip Children of Dune and go into.
They just want to go straight to God, the fourth book.
Messiah.
Oh no, I'm thinking God Emperor.
You think they would? But I've also heard a weird rumor. This is a rumor. Thank you, internet, and various other people.
Sorry,
I watched.
We'll get to a full review here in a moment, but we have to get through this.
But they're talking about having Guillermo del Toro be the next director for that one.
Oh. See, now I wonder if they're going to try and combine book 3 and 4 together and to do a whole thing where you have the prophet and then God Emperor.
That's definitely jumping way ahead.
Yeah.
So.
Anyway, yeah.
I don't know.
There's things that come that are weird.
I love Leto too.
So you love Leto too?
Yes.
what about 2.2?
Well,
he's okay.
Okay. How about Duncan version 3482? I don't know, something like that.
the one that doesn't go quite as, it isn't quite as angry when he comes back.
And we're doing it again. We're jumping
We
ahead.
sure are.
Yeah.
So,
we're not even in the right book or the right movie. So,
No.
hey,
anyways.
so Dune opens up, and the second the movie started, I couldn't take my eyes away from it.
Yeah.
The cinematics, the opening scene,
you shushed me too many times.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
We should have sat next together.
I was in it, man. I was there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But see, that's my problem. I react.
Yeah. And I was just digesting the whole thing. My eyes just never left that screen. But some of the very opening cinematic, you just get this feeling you are stuck in a quiet wasteland. Mm-hmm. And then we start progressing through the film, and I have to say the sets, they kept a lot of the David Lynch feel for the sets. These big, grandiose, hugely ornate, big, decorated, like just buildings.
Some were ornate, some were just simple and monolithic.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm. And they kept that feel of that grandeur and scale that there was a whole art design that they just really kept in track, but then they made it feel less creepy and much more sinister, and like underlying threats all the way down.
That's the nice thing, is they did let go of like 99% of what Lynch did. The Baron was not this creepy, weird psycho. He was
mob boss.
No weird heart Pringle plugs.
Yeah.
There was a point in the film where I genuinely expected Baron Harkonnen to ask for a plate of pierogies. Especially in the scene where, they're explaining to him all these things that have happened, and he, just heaves himself up out of this oil bath, and he gets done giving orders, and I just genuinely expected him to be like, I need a plate of pierogies.
I actually gotta say,
I think it would have been more lines, you come on the day of my daughter's wedding, asking for a favor.
I also really enjoyed the chair dog things, which I thought was a little hint towards later books.
Oh, it very much was a hint towards much later books.
Matter of fact, that was probably the only thing that was Dune-esque, was that spider human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the spider.
That was very Lynch.
Very.
Lynch,
It was, but again, it was one of those nods where they mark one on the wall for me.
Oh.
Because every time I tell people I'm going to be doing a thing, then they all have to immediately message me.
That's right.
No, they'll never ask me about the thing. They'll ask me about every other thing in the world that's not important.
Yeah. So, going back to visuals.
Yeah.
The ornithopters. I cannot stop thinking about those.
I didn't know what
those were good.
Because I played Magic the Gathering, ornithopter to me was a totally different design in my head. Like very clockworky, like Da Vinci-esque looking kind of thing.
Yeah.
And boy, to see these giant, like, dragonfly hover helicopters. Oh, it was so cool.
What I thought was funny is how many people said, "Oh, they got that from Black Panther."
Oh.
No, they didn't.
No, and it was really good. Like, everything that they designed for this, all the way down to the tech, I just always feel like when it comes to human technology, the more blocky it looks, the more realistic that is to me. That was something I pointed out in Avatar.
Avatar.
Give me a second.
Where they go to Pandora.
Keep talking.
Yep. And, they have these mech suits, and you would expect at this point, we've traveled across the stars, we've got all this nicely designed stuff. Nope, big, like, blocky robot body things, and just stomping through forests. And I really appreciate that because even in the ornithopters and some of the other tech and the tanks and the ships and stuff like that you see in Dune, they're very blocky, sharp-angled. It is a very human design that has gone into a lot of the equipment in the buildings.
Yeah. To me, that also gave it a very anime sort of feel to it.
It kind of can. Yeah. It definitely can.
Yep.
I don't know. I guess it's however you want to portray that one. Because I always think like a little sleeker, the more anime it looks. But classic anime is
the dingy, blocky. I mean, you start getting into some more of the organic shapes. But if you follow some of the older ones, was it Battleship Yamamoto, stuff like that? Had very
the old
blocky
Gundams
things.
and things like that.
Everything was angular.
Oh, very angled.
Yeah.
But anyway, The characters. Who all they picked for the characters, I was not disappointed in any stretch.
Yeah.
I liked it.
I see a lot of people complaining about what's the guy that played Shalom Lama Ding Dong guy?
Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah, Timothy Chalamet playing Paul. I've seen a lot of people complain about him.
I take it. I got that.
Yeah.
One, yeah.
I know everybody
stuck it. Right
I know
there.
everybody gave this guy shit for being cast as Paul.
I thought he was good.
He did a good
He
job.
looked like he was roughly how Paul was supposed to be in the books.
He
like
did look a little older than
years.
14, but the fact he had this scrawny little prawn out there, and it worked.
So the characters of Paul, our big hero for Dune so far, he was originally written and portrayed as a malnourished, undersized 14-year-old boy. And that's your main character. From the beginning, like where the movie starts is exactly where we would meet Paul normally. And he's just a kid going through an intense amount of stressful training because he's next in line in the house.
That goes okay. It's one of the negatives of the movie. They don't really talk about mentats very much. They don't introduce. They don't get into it.
I will say that.
And they completely drop the idea that Paul was being trained to be a mentat.
Right.
Yeah.
Now you do get introduced to mentats in the film, but they don't.
They're there, but they're like
they don't mention that they're trained to be
do.
human computers, and that's what a mentat is.
Again, that's why I think it was geared more towards people who've already familiarized themselves with the franchise.
Oh, absolutely,
and Duncan not having his shit. No, sorry.
Okay,
so on that note, speaking of Duncan, when are you gonna make a Duncan mask?
Depends on the. Can I get rights to Jason Momoa's face?
I figured you just want it for yourself, honestly, but you know.
No. See, there is a certain.
I think he missed the point.
Yeah,
He's missed the point.
Okay,
Yeah.
Did I?
Yeah.
And
I'm just thinking, if you wear a Jason Momoa mask, you'll never see you again.
no.
So every time Duncan, Idaho came up on the screen, a particular person to my right was like jumping out of the seat, just grabbing things, and you could. Yeah, it was very obvious.
Sorry.
Yeah. It's nothing to apologize about.
He makes a perfect Duncan, Idaho.
Yeah.
So, and this Duncan character we keep talking about is the right-hand man to the House Atreides. He is their most loyal people, sword master, best friend to our good king, our good hero Paul.
Basically, an older brother almost.
That older brother feel. It definitely is. And he's the guy that goes off and does all these dangerous missions and works for Paul's father, who is Leto Atreides, the leader of the whole thing. And again, all the characters, like Jessica, that character, Paul's mother in the film. Her moments where in the book she has moments where she kind of she has nervous breakdowns because she's part of what's known as the Bene Gesserit, which are basically like a cartel of women, like priestesses that subvertly run the universe.
Yeah.
And they put themselves in every major political home. They're in every business. They're in every organization all across the universe.
Spread
all for a genetic experiment.
It's all for a genetic experiment to see if they can produce a messiah,
a perfect person,
a perfect human being.
Cataract.
Yeah. Well, they do it because one of them, Jessica, decides, you know what? I'm just going to give this guy a son. I know they told me to only have daughters, but I'm going to give this guy a son. And that's when Paul comes around.
Falls in love.
She teaches him all the Bene Gesserit tricks and all the training. And then, just as everything's expected, like, oh, well, time to go to war against you. Get to go to Arrakis. Way to go. You won. And it's like, oh, no. What have I done? I made the Quetzalcoatl Cataract, and now we're going to the one place you should never have taken him.
Which I will say the movie does not explain any of that, but there's a lot too much to
leaning
explain.
back towards, definitely made towards
for it was
fans.
definitely made towards fans and anybody that's familiar.
That's not saying people will not enjoy it, because it is a really well done piece of art. Yes.
Oh, it was awesome. The soundtrack was incredible too.
Damn you, Zimmerman.
Oh, Hans Zimmerman's so good.
Yeah.
Especially, so when they go to the Sardaukar planet.
Oh yeah.
I love the fact that the Sardaukar are the emperor of the universe's primary elite fighting force. Basically, they're like space Urukai. Well, they're all human.
Way to put it. Yeah.
I
like it.
And they speak English, or a language you can understand, But
he's
the
lying.
dialect,
They beatbox for a while.
They do, and it's like with blood sacrifices and all kinds of fun stuff going on. It was a good time. But this one general who's explaining to another guy, he's speaking English to this ambassador, but they have to put subtitles so you understand the Sardaukar dialect, so you can understand what he's saying, because it's
well, a lot of it is you have these different regions, you have these different ways of communication, and of course, over such large areas, you're going to have these enormous differences in dialect.
Oh yeah.
But that's something they actually paid attention to in this movie, was how everybody had their own ways to communicate openly, secretly in the open, or lie flat out to your face.
Yeah.
Paul and Jessica would speak in different languages, so that way,
Yeah, and the main thing of Dune is it's always a plan within a plan within a plan within a plan, and everybody's got a plan that goes against that plan, but there's their new plan that goes against this plan, and it's ridiculous. It is the most trumped up story of, like, how could I put this, of
it's
like,
the longest game of diplomacy ever.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yep.
And there was a part, though, there were a couple little things that caught me so they get to Arrakis, and in the books, Arrakis is supposed to be around like 150 to 175 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
It's warm on the surface.
Yeah.
It's awful. And there's a scene where Paul, dressed in his normal attire, when you go outside on Dune, you're supposed to wear what's called a stealth suit, which is think of it as just like a reverse wetsuit. It keeps the moisture in, it keeps you cool.
Yeah.
So you might lose
Recycles water.
It recycles the water in your body so you don't die.
It's for a minimal amount of water loss.
Yeah, the minute amount. And instead of wearing his suit, and when the sun comes up, the compound that is the city that they live in locks down. The doors shut, windows shut, no light in or out. The heat's too bad. So it's middle of the day. Paul's out in his courtyard where they're watering 20 palm trees.
Not letting you get in.
And instead of wearing his still suit, he's just in a full black garb.
Well, yeah.
And not a drop or ounce of sweat falling off of anybody. No one has sweat falling off.
It's so hot that the sweat's evaporating faster than you get to see it.
I don't think it evaporates that fast at 150 degrees. Does it?
Either of you actually lived in the desert?
I've been there for like a couple of weeks.
Lived in the desert?
No.
Okay, I have.
Oh, does it?
Yes.
Oh.
And it doesn't have to be that hot, because the sweat actually does what it needs to do and evaporate. Out here, you have there's too much humidity, so evaporation slowed down. So you end up caking yourself in your wonderful salty tears.
Okay.
Out there, you actually cool off a
At
little
least
more,
his face would have been red, though, from the heat, I guess. But
something.
It's fun when you can actually watch rain come down and never hit the ground.
Oh.
Yeah, so watching rain come down and evaporate before it hits the ground.
Weird.
Yeah. And that's only like 100 degrees.
That's another thing we noticed that they didn't mention in the movie. It never rains on Arrakis.
Oh yeah, they never mentioned that one.
Yeah, they forgot to mention that part. It's a very important. I know that you can get the assumption it's not going to rain. The entire planet's made out of sand, and there's colossal worm beasts that terrify everybody and keep anything from happening as far as terraforming goes. Sure.
Yeah.
I think it can be implied, but.
Well, before we go into more details about this, flat out, I want to say this was an excellent movie. Go see it. The bigger the screen, the better. And I have a method of which way I judge things. We go to the Tivoli a lot, but we actually watched this at a competitor's theater. And thank you for the Tivoli for everything you have done for us locally. The chairs there are new, but based on antique styles, wooden backs, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So the more you feel the chair, the worse the rating. So I have a 1 chair through 5 chair with a potential 0. It's got to be really good. As much as I love this movie, I'd still have to give it 2 chairs.
Oh, really?
I can't give it a 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
So only 2 chairs.
Only 2 chairs.
Damn.
No.
Yeah. I'd love to give it a 1 because it's a great movie. But because of a lot of little things it's missing, it made me sit there and kind of fidget and agitate. Oh, and the guy sitting in front of me, I'm sorry, I kicked your chair probably 3 times.
It's all right. To the nice people who I had to scoot past in order to go to the bathroom at one point. Yeah, sorry. I was looking for an opening, and I knew the story well enough to know when I had a dead spot coming up, so I could get through and not miss anything cool.
So, sorry to the guy sitting to my right when I eked in excitement, or had a comment to say.
Eked.
Yes.
Yeah, eye candy galore, but with enough actual solid story. Very good movie.
Now I only have one real complaint about this film, and I've had this same complaint from the book, through David Lynch's film, and now this one. The night that the House Atreides falls. The night that they fall. Here's House Atreides. They are supposed to be known as one of the best militant groups and loyal to the Emperor, right? Everyone in their captain of the guard and the person who trains the son, Paul, are the best swordsmen in the Empire. No one can beat them. They are 100% the best. Why, in the book and in 2 movies, are there no fucking guards anywhere in the Atreides compound on Arrakis the night that everyone's murdered and driven into the desert?
I must point out there were 3. Okay. We get to watch them being taken out from a distance with an unknown device.
It's a dart gun. It was a paralyzing dart gun.
Still.
3. On a door and somewhere else.
That's, of course, where it comes out to the whole idea that this was definitely a fan-made made for people who are in the know. Because the betrayer is kind of...
Dr. Yue.
Yeah.
And you actually do see him give people little pills, too, that night to insinuate that he probably did it to other guards, too.
And that's his job. He's the confidant medic.
All the guards
he poisoned him with put everyone to sleep.
But they weren't asleep hard enough to not wake up when they had to. Like, it just seemed like everyone took the night off. It's sand day. Everyone take 10.
We're in the middle of the desert. Who's going to come out after us here?
I also feel like I do want to say I did like their shields that they had in this movie compared to David Lynch's.
Oh, yeah. No.
It's better than the Minecraft blockage thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
This was closer to the book because the shields are only supposed to be subtly there. If they're not interact with anything, you don't see it.
Yeah.
But when it does, it's supposed to shimmer. Now, they do go a step further and show that good hit, bad hit, depending on the color it goes, which I thought was a good way to indicate that.
Yeah.
No, that was that was great. What do you want, Pupper? Come on.
He wants attention, just like everything else.
I can tell.
So I get to play the Bond villain now.
Yeah. Hi. So, but again, the first moment you do get to see a worm, just a hint of a worm in the movie. Oh, it's so good. It's so much better this time around. Like the first time for Dune, you have these giant worms coasting along the top of the desert sands, kind of like a weird vacuum tube being dragged along, and that's cool. It was really great for the time. But then they kind of stepped it up a little bit, and now the worms are actually mostly under the ground, and then you get this real feel for how big they are. Because the first one that comes up, it devours an entire sand crawler, and the worm's mouth must be almost 100 yards across, just in itself. Because there was a lot of room around that crawler when it went down, and that thing was
David Lynch did the same thing, but he had it come up from the ground, and you just see it cave in there.
Yeah. But the way they did it this time was much more, I think. Someone paid attention to some, biology videos and had to have watched something this time. Because even the...
Tremors?
Nah, that's not even close to the same thing. That has its own special place in my heart. If Tremors are worms, they're the goblins of worms, okay? That's what those are.
I don't think they're worms, but that just has something else to do with their biology.
Yeah,
they're still...
that's a whole
other movie.
Yeah.
Whole other genre, almost. So, but yeah, the worms are what everybody came there for, and they make it very... The moment, somebody goes into the desert for anything, you know that they're walking on pins and needles. Quite literally through the desert. Because they...
speaking of that's to me an important line left out of both, I think, the Lynch and the movie.
Walk without a rhythm?
No, is everybody's walking on pins and needles. What's the best way to go into a trap? Knowing you're going into a trap.
Right.
And Duke Leto basically tells Paul, "Of course we're walking into a trap. We know this. So be prepared. We're going to do it anyway."
Yeah.
And it's not even mentioned.
Yeah.
No, that is another part of the Dune series. Again, we're making minor storyline complaints for ourselves,
most
because
of this has been truly nitpicking. Because, in all honesty, this is an epic movie.
Yeah. No, and it's going to be our new Lord of the Rings for 2020s, because we have to have one.
That's an interesting
every
perspective.
decade.
Okay, we have people saying that this is the Lord of the Rings for the science fiction people. I've also got people saying, well, I shouldn't say they're not my people, but people I've talked to, that this is the new Star Wars, which I disagree with. Even though Star Wars is a direct rip-off of Dune, I don't think it's going to be that sort of epic level.
No,
event.
I think what it is it's there's every genre gets its big 3-movie. This is the quintessential. Lord of the Rings, fantasy. That's the quintessential trilogy. Star Wars, sci-fi. There's your quintessential right there. Any pirate movies? You've got 3 good pirate movies. We don't talk about the 4th. Sorry, Johnny. And then, and so on and so forth. You have all different film genres and different styles. This one is that mix of sci-fi and fantasy, because the sci-fi looks almost like magic at times, but you know that it's not. And they keep that portrayed very, very well, that this isn't just magic that's happening. Like the Bene Gesserit's abilities and things like that have come from almost 10,000 years of still in progress, self-created breeding program that they allow themselves to continue doing.
But a lot of their tricks come from the learning of people's physiology, their mentality, how they're going to react, and knowing how to read someone.
And the way that they portrayed how people react to the Bene Gesserit voice ability, I loved. Because it's not like they go mindless and do something unwillingly like a zombie. The idea of the voice is you're supposed to tap into that one thing. It's basically space mom voice. Because every person in the film that had the voice used on them would do this oh, I got to do the thing. Mom's mad. It was that reaction.
Well, I was listening to something, the director's talking about it, how he didn't want them to be space zombies. So when thanks to his editor, they were able to make it look like you were basically put in this subtle coma and drawn to what you're supposed to do. So they had the actor walk kind of weird and then sped it up in editing to give it that weird effect.
Yeah.
And that worked out really well.
And like I said, it gave everybody this sense and moment of oh, I got a thing to do. It's Mom's mad. And so there were those little parts that I really enjoyed where they put it in together just a bit more, or they could put it into a bit more perspective. Even with the running into the desert and just trying to get to the rocks so they can find I forgot the names of them. Oh, I'm so disappointed. Fremen. Or the native people of Arrakis. And they're desert people. They like it, their desert. They like their worms. They worship the worms. And it's just, the way that they portrayed them is just look, I have other shit to do. Just trying to live. So if we can get through all this political crap and I can get back to not looking at you, that is great with me. And that is the entire Fremen mindset for a couple of the characters we meet.
And they did really well.
And they did great.
Yep.
Yeah.
You could tell who was supposed to be a Fremen immediately in the film. Just because it was hey, I'm trying not to lose water here. Can you stop talking to me? Oh, God.
Short, to the point.
Yeah, very short, very to the point. But, alright. Anything on you?
Huh? Oh.
Well, I mean, you were so excited about all this.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah. Okay.
The camera's there. Don't look at me.
Yeah, the camera's there.
It is. There. It's right there. Hi.
Speak up. If I had to do this with Chris for 2 years on a podcast, I will do it with you too.
Oh, God, no.
Yeah. No, you have to project.
Yeah.
Project.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Come here, puppy.
One of the little details, we'll go into this because this is really what more it is the attention they paid to the hunter seeker. In the book, it's this 5 centimeter long thing.
Yeah.
Very little details in it, so that gives the director and art group a lot of play with this. In David Lynch, It's like a 6-inch.
Yeah, it's like a steak knife.
Yeah.
It's huge.
So the fact that he was able to catch it in.
Yeah, it makes it a bit more impressive that Paul catches the hunter seeker. That makes it much more impressive.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, but everything from down to like the set, the props were fantastic.
Mm-hmm. To have been one of the creators on that, the artists that worked on this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good job, guys. You guys did. It was phenomenal, excellent detail.
No, the worm tooth blades looked fantastic. All the Chris
I want
knives.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sam, we need to make that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of clay. It's ready.
Okay,
let's do this.
Let me know what I need to do to help.
Sandworm plushie.
I'm sorry. Say what?
It'll go very well with my sandworm plushie.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Although there was the one mistake that is bugging me now that we're talking about it.
Okay.
When Mapes gives the Chris knife to Jessica.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Resheathed without blood.
Yeah.
Shame.
See, and what Kursk knives are is they're knives made from the teeth of the great worms.
Shahaloo.
But the problem, or not really a problem with them, they have to be in contact with human body contact at all times, or they'll disintegrate and deteriorate. And when it comes out of its sheath... It's never really
explained why, though. But
yeah, it's never really explained why.
Yeah.
It's just this weird mystical tie the worms have to people, apparently.
It sucks out your water.
Basically. And so whenever you take it out of the sheath, the air begins to dry it out pretty badly. And so what you have to do is you have to put it in blood or something to keep it moistened and put it back in the sheath. Otherwise, it will just disintegrate.
Yeah.
This is what I have always assumed. Now, they do take it out, and they're like, well, it's out. Now it has to have blood.
Well,
and most of the times, those knives aren't drawn unless someone's supposed to die.
And it going back to when Paul meets the Fremen finally. Mm-hmm. They all pull their knife out, and in order to put it away, they open up their suits, do a quick cut, and then put it away.
Yeah.
That was one of those, okay, it needed to be done when Jessica got hers, because they're staying consistent in some areas, but not in others.
I think what it was Jessica got it, but because she'd not spent time on Arrakis, didn't understand.
Oh, she knew what to do.
Did she?
Yeah, in the book, she knows exactly what to do. Mapes kind of exposes her breast, so she just nicks it and puts it up. That's right. Because she even says, I can't put this away. And so Mapes was actually expecting to die, and instead nicks her, gets some blood, puts it away.
Right. Yeah. So, no, and then, there's just so many things that they threw into this that every time a scene would open, my eyes would get a little wider. Like,
here's another one. Okay, when Paul is when they're getting the harvester and the carryall doesn't show up, Paul goes outside, has his trip.
Yep.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember that from the book. I don't think that was there.
No.
Yeah. I did like the fact that the lines of I can recognize your footsteps journey, even though he's tripping balls while just being exposed to that much raw spice.
And because Paul has that, has such a sensitivity to the spice effect, just the spice in the air. Because everybody, apparently, with spice, it gives you visions and hallucinations and things like that. And Paul's very sensitive to it, so he just stands in the open air with it. And he can't tell where he's at.
Yeah, he starts time travel.
Yeah, he starts going through his memories and
that's
having...
when his prescience kind of opens up.
Yeah, that's
when...
I
kind of enjoyed that adaptation.
I did. I liked it because I think that was a good way to tell people some stuff there. But it kind of loses the fact that as soon as they get to the planet, everybody starts consuming spice in some manner. Yeah. The spice coffee, the spice desserts, the spice in your air.
And one thing they don't explain in the film...
Mm-hmm.
One thing they don't explain in this film is that once you have spice in your system, it's like heroin. You're done. Being sent to Arrakis is basically a death sentence because you can't leave. Once you're exposed to that,
some sort of spice.
You need to have a constant supply of spice in order to continue living because it's a full physical addiction at that point. It's integrated. It's a part of you. That's what makes the Fremen's eyes turn blue and things like that. It's just the fact that there's so much spice. It's in the air, it's in the water, it's everywhere. You can't escape it.
Now, I'm going to mention a plot hole here. Now, Frank Herbert basically covers it up by saying because Arrakis is only habitable on the north side and the Fremen basically bribed the navigators, there's nobody watches the southern pole at all.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We have the technology to do that now without needing, special evolved drug addicts that can take us through space. Why was that? To me, that's a plot hole. I don't care how badly it's written out with everything else and all the other attention details there. Why can nobody survey the planet on their own? They don't need navigators to do that. They don't need... That's a simple technology. They should have. There should have been surveillance 100% around that planet at all times.
Because it's not really pointed out, but it is kind of explained later on in the book. The Baron Harkonnen wants no one watching his planet, because most of the money and profits
at this point it's no longer the Barons, but
and again, this is the reason why
from the book. The Fremen are bribing the navigators to keep everybody away from it.
Yeah,
it has nothing to do with the Baron. Well,
the Baron doesn't want anybody looking at it anyway, because majority of where his money and profits comes from, on what is explained in the books a little bit is how the spice is shipped out. There's these official containers and everything that are tanked out and filled up and sent off to, the space navigators, so they can figure out, they can do enough spice and drip hard enough they can see how to maneuver through space. That's how people move around now. But with the Baron, because that's maybe 45% of his take. The rest of it's all illegal smuggling of spice. And spice smugglers are everywhere. They're supposed to be one of the worst threats in the desert next to the worms and the Fremen. You don't see spice smugglers in the movie, so I understand why that creates a little confusion. Because there's no place to put them. Yeah. You only have so much time for a film.
I always feel like Baron would be smart enough to.
But you are correct
with integral in that, because even Duke Leto starts dealing with the smuggler.
Yeah, because he was expected to keep a quota. Mm-hmm. And when the Harkonnens left, they took all the good spice harvesters, because it was theirs.
All the good equipment.
Yep. They took all the good equipment, left all the old shit that was there when they took over 80 years ago, and it was all run down, busted, and done. Mm-hmm. And that's why they weren't using it anyway. So yeah, at one point Leto was supposed to be trying to make deals with spice smugglers to get the proper amount of spice in, so then they could meet their quotas and not all wind up dead. But that doesn't quite happen. They were never meant to make their quota.
And you are right, there's just so much time everybody can give to this film. There's only so much detail. So I don't mind that the smugglers themselves are missing. It's the plot hole of, why is nobody looking around the planet?
Right.
It should be that easy to look around the planet.
Well, and also,
too afraid.
I think that just looking on, the surface doesn't do much good, because they know the Fremen are all living underground.
But they're not.
But they're not. They make everybody believe they are.
They've got grassy plains, they've got farms, they've got above-ground cities.
Yeah.
But because, nobody thinks it's worth looking at, nobody's looking at it.
True.
But, okay, I've got a quota to make. Let's see where else we can gather up some stuff that's bigger desert, bigger hauls, bigger risk.
Fair, right?
Yeah. Duke Leto was, for once, smarter than the Baron. Thought to actually get the desert power of the Fremen.
Well, I think when it came down to it, both of them were probably equally intelligent. Just one was a hell of a lot more sinister, because Leto was ready for traps. He knew something was going to go wrong. He practically he was expecting himself to die.
Yeah, this was the classic tale. This is the classic tale of lawful good versus lawful evil.
Yeah. And I would agree, the Baron would be lawful, because he had his own laws he had to obey. He had to obey the Emperor. He had to obey the... Yeah. So he manipulated those laws so he could be just bad enough to take an advantage.
Oh, yeah.
This Baron was definitely lawful evil.
And
they was chaotic evil.
Again, going on to the Baron, wonderful actor, wonderful... He fit the Baron. I can forgive the levitating more than 6 feet thing again.
Yeah.
But it fit. It was a lot better than just a floating fat man balloon.
No, and again, he was a fat man who floated around everywhere.
Well, he didn't float. Well, he did. He didn't float high.
He didn't. No, again.
Face. I was very happy about that.
Oh, yeah, the monsters. Yes. No, there were no monstrous boils. He was just an immensely fat, but hyper imposing person.
Or he was a glutton for everything.
Oh yeah.
So, and they played that off really well.
And because spice, gives you a little bit of a longevity, who knows how long he was planning on going? as the head of the Harkonnen house, because he could probably have already had 200 or 300 years under his belt.
I believe they kind of suggest that.
Yeah. They don't ever explain that fully, but yeah, I think in the series, because the Atreides don't, like, they're in, middle age, normal aged. But once you get to Arrakis and that aging process slows down, I mean, Baron Harkonnen was probably hitting 200 or 300 years, and he had been on Arrakis for 80 of that.
Well, he really wasn't on Arrakis for 80 of it. Rabin was.
That's right, his nephew was, right?
His nephew was, and he was taking in the spice.
That's right.
Any way he could. He had huge, basically, stashes of it. And that was the nice thing they kind of mentioned in the book and, in the movie. It's like, this was really expensive, so go ahead and sell some of our reserves, but not too much to affect the price.
Right.
So, we gotta pay for that little war we started, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very well done in that aspect.
Yeah, no, the Emperor demanded a war be made, and he made Harkonnen pay for it.
Yep.
He was going to let Harkonnen win the war, which is why he sent the Sardaukar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 3
battalions of the meanest Uruk-hai space farm.
But they couldn't. They could barely keep up with Duncan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This is your turn. Go ahead. Talk about Duncan.
Oh.
Do it.
I mean, there's not much to talk about other than that he's awesome. He gets even cooler in the later books, but that's too far ahead.
That's not even the original. I mean, that's the clone.
No, they'll use the same actor. It's fine.
It's fine. Yeah.
Well, it's a clone. Of course, you're going to use the same actor, unless of course he gets too old, and then they'll have to,
Well, I don't think he's a clone. I thought they just brought his cells back and just added machinery, which what you couldn't.
But eventually with the prescience, the original form can kind of come through.
Yeah.
That happens in a later book with another character.
Okay. Yeah. Spoilers.
Because who do they not bring back? Because spoilers for future books. Paul dies and comes back. Leto is not he's the only one who doesn't come back. He lives at like 3,500 years old.
Yeah,
if
Leto.
There's nobody there still alive.
And then like
true.
Duncan comes back.
The end of the 7th book, it's basically like a brand new Dune starter kit on its way to a new planet because things have gone wrong and Arrakis is blown up. But that's the end of the 7th book. That's way. That's when Dune gets extra weird.
Yeah.
But but for this film, like if you were a fan of really, really good scenery and like amazing music, good character, like no one didn't give 100% on their characters in this film. That was
pretty sure there was that extra in the background.
Yeah. Where he wasn't there when the Atreides were all murdered.
Right.
Where's the extras?
Yeah.
Give me a boom mic hanging out somewhere, please. Let me know there was someone watching.
Now I want to talk about the still suits for a moment.
Yeah.
Aesthetically, those things are wonderful pieces of art,
Mm-hmm.
and they had to be fitted and made specifically. For the actor who was wearing their particular one. It wasn't as the movie portrays, like, oh, here's one, we'll just fit it to you.
Yeah.
No, in reality, they were suits made for everyone. Now, let's talk from a physical, a practicality point of view. If you are in something in the desert that's going to have that sort of effect, you'll need some sort of cooling fins and stuff like that. And I'm not going to go into the power actually needed to process all of your bodily fluids and waste back into water. Walking around is not going to do that, but that's irrelevant. Okay. It's the fact that they're so textured. Yes, you need some way to cool, but you also want the minimal amount of exterior surface. So you want that to be smooth. You want that to be...
That way the sand would fall off and not get in between, too.
Right.
Yeah, that's fair.
Mm-hmm. And it could also just be, since these still suits have been around forever, like these things are just battered from the sand. I mean... Everything on Arrakis gets sand.
Well, no, they're not battered on the sands. They're not old. That's actually one of the many manufacturing parts of the Fremen. Is they have full legions of people making them and manufacturing. They have a solid manufacturing facility that makes the suits, that produces weapons, that produces everything the Fremen need, up to and even including making some ships for mining the spice. Because guess who gives the navigators a whole bunch of spice?
The Fremen.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually give them more spice than the Harkonnens.
Right, and that's one reason why the navigators were, we're not going to completely eliminate these people because that's where we get our actual spice from. We just skim off the top of everybody else, relatively speaking.
Right.
So you have this full industry of these heavy air quotes, nomads that are actually a full economy functioning in a extremely secretive manner. Which, of course, is not going to be portrayed in the book or the movie, but just the book, so don't worry about that part. But we're going back into that. Here they are. They're not going to be old still suits. They're going to be new. They're going to function at 100%, because as soon as they're not, I'm losing more water than I should be. Let's get a new suit.
Constantly repair, though, their ones, even in the books, too.
Yeah, and that was the thing. They were extremely efficient. Nothing was wasted.
Yeah, which is where, like, I think we had brought up earlier, the fact that they did not take off the still suits when they actually, Paul and that guy fought too.
Yeah. So in the battle between Jameis and Paul,
I cannot remember his name either.
In the book, they strip down. And this is explained to whoever wins gets the water of the person who died to make up for the water lost in the fight. So they fight pretty much in their skivvies down to being naked. In this... No,
they could have worn underwear.
They stay with their they could have worn underwear. Or, I mean, think about it though. They had Paul and his mom came out of their tent wearing their weird muslin suit, which is another thing we'll get into in a moment. But what should have been happening here is they should have taken that off, worn something simple, and died in that manner, because you wouldn't want the damage to the suit because somebody else could utilize that. But the winner, of course, gets everything that person had, including responsibilities.
Yeah.
Which will come in hopefully in part 2.
Yeah.
But going into that, it's
Paul
so water is so important. There's no reason Paul and Jessica should have gotten out of their tent without having their suits on first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couldn't figure out why they didn't immediately have it on as soon as the economist gave it to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but now they're sitting there in their tent. They show the tent actually collecting the moisture, which is a good point, a good little minor detail. But stepping out in their pajamas.
Yeah.
So.
After using what was called like a sand pusher, they never even showed like
We'll just call it the sonic shovel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really what it was. It's like a sonic shovel to dig their way out from a sand dune where their tent was buried from the night before.
In the book, Paul manually digs them out because they do get a dune basically literally crawls right on top of their tent. The tent can miraculously hold it, but that's irrelevant.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, those Fremen-made tents, they're allowed to happen.
Yeah.
They're made to do that and survive in the desert. But what got me was, they're out there outside the wall, they're doing their thing, they're like stretching, they're moving around, and no worms.
Yeah.
Even though the shields and everything that are like makes worms go crazy, and they try to show up and like fight shield walls and things like that, because the laser shields constantly thump against an object that's hitting it, and it just sends the worms in like blood crazes.
Which is okay.
I'm waiting to see if they do something with that in the second movie.
Well, plot hole. All the shields or all the cities are shielded.
Yeah.
Why aren't the worms going nuts for those?
Yeah.
Well, because they build those walls right in front. But my only problem is those walls mean nothing to the worms.
Well, it doesn't matter. They keep the shields up because they know they're vulnerable to attack from anyone. Space or whatever. And like you said in the second one, if things go towards the book like they are, they take out a good section of the mountain by using a laser gun up against the shields.
Yeah.
So.
Which feels like any dumb 12-year-old that's bored that day could go out and throw a rock against a shield wall and just cause apocalypse to happen on Dune.
Right.
And just there are reasons you don't break the rules on Dune.
Yeah.
They don't explain that very well.
No.
It's not. They mention it one moment. They mentioned that in the movie where it's like, oh yeah, shields make the worms go blood crazy. It's cool.
But we're going to surround our cities with them.
Yeah, we're going to cover everything in these shields now, though, and then walk on the sand.
Yeah.
And then trying to explain, you have to do certain kinds of walks when you're in the desert, so that way the worms don't notice that you're not part of the desert. And
now in the book, they pretty much talk about being able to walk as if they're the sand. They don't call it a dance or anything. They just. This is where Lynch gets the walk without rhythm.
Yeah.
And then.
You won't attract the worm. Yeah.
Right. But who did that song? I can't remember.
Oh, it's Fatboy Slim.
Yeah, Fatboy Slim. But that's irrelevant.
it comes in my... Christopher Walken dancing through the desert always comes through my mind now.
Yeah, but now in this one, they show the video of the guy basically sand skating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where it's like step, slide, step.
Slide.
Other slide. Steppity step, step,
slide.
Hop, slide. Like, whatever.
Take a slide to the left.
I would have
Clap
been...
your hands.
And they were supposed to
right.
have... untrained. They walked through the loose sand dunes like that for miles on end for a couple of days in the movie. I would have been exhausted after 30 feet and just laid down and been like, take me, worm. I'm not going to make it.
Yeah, and that completely goes against the actual human evolution of us being able to walk the way we do for a ridiculous amount of distance.
Yeah.
So, but... Got to fit the movie. Have to have a reason.
Right, and I guess in a life or death scenario, you can make yourself do all kinds of kinds of things.
Yeah, that brings us back though. I like the fact that they didn't bring this up in Lynch, but they did in this one. The drum sand.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, where there's the spots where like you step on a spot and you just hear a boom.
Yeah, so something that the sand is so compacted that it helps resonate and acts as a drum. So what's going to attract the worm?
Drum
nice,
sand.
Solid. Yeah.
Yep. And one of the spots where you see them get ready, Paul and his mom have been walking through the desert after they were chased out, after everything happened, and they see some rocks like 150, 200 yards away.
Like, yes!
And they had a worm circling them for a little bit, and you could just see the hills just like moving in the background. That was so cool.
Yeah.
Just an entire hill just moves like a ocean, like a wave in the ocean. This was a minor detail they threw in that I really loved. So they start hauling ass after they hit the drum sand. The worm is chasing them. They get up on the rock, and just as the worm dives back down after they've made it to the rock, the worm is so large, the sand moves like water at that point.
Oh yeah.
And there is a crash of wave against the rocks that's just sand acting like water. And that was one of those little moments that caught me really well, where it's like, oh wow, like it's that big.
Yeah.
It's that fucking big.
And that's not even going to be the biggest one they show.
No, this one and the one that chases them through the desert is a baby compared to one of the first ones you see.
Yeah. And I do like that they do lead up to the fact that they're going to ride them by copying something in the book but in a different spot where they look off, they see a worm, and why is it not going under, back in the sand, and you see the person up on top.
And the way they did this, I loved. Instead of the whole worm being up above the ground, it's just like his back up here, and the guy's riding it like a jet ski.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Keeping this worm in one spot while the Fremen are coming back because he's the ride, and he's just riding this worm in circles.
We need to get an engineer and get an example, see if we can figure out how fast that worm was supposed to be moving, because they can obviously just cruise.
Well, in
I would
the
expect
book,
something really huge to not be able to move that quickly, but these things are flying 70.
Well, there's little details they don't explain in any spot in Dune, and I think a lot of it was left up to speculative stuff. No one's for sure how big Dune is as far as a planet. They think it's a little bit smaller than Earth, not by a whole big bunch, but enough to where life can hit massive sizes.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then if things don't weigh that much, because again, smaller planet, smaller gravity, life can get a little bigger. And since it's not trying to stay up on top of the land, and they're made to just dig. If these things, another thing they don't talk about on Dune, the worms aren't from Arrakis.
Oh yeah.
That's a few books later.
That's explained later, but I'm just going to throw that in here now. The worms made Arrakis a sandy hellhole.
Yeah, that's
through terraforming.
Still.
Again, we're spoiling like book 6. So, but with the worms, they're so big, and they can hit these massive sizes on this planet for whatever reason. And in some of the excerpts in the book, like you were saying, like they would have like moments like the ecology of Dune, where you learn that one of the main things that the worms on Dune eat
sand plankton.
It's essentially the bugs and stuff that live in between the sand grains, like
whales.
Yeah, like whales. Like their teeth. Even in one scene where the worm comes up where you can see it, the teeth are like baleen. Like they're just these huge, giant whiskers that cover the entirety of the inside of their mouth. All right, pup, off you go. Let's see.
Sit on daddy's seat.
Yep, taking spot.
Oh, no.
Move, dog. Move.
There you go.
For anybody who wants to know, this is Scooter.
He doesn't scoot real well.
No, he does whine a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you?
Just like the Muppet.
He's a baby worm, really.
Yeah, he's a pre-worm.
Oh.
That's something they
Trout.
also... Yeah, I'm sure they'll get to that in the second part. They have to.
Well, probably. I don't know.
If I put a still
if you
suit on you, the
learned
vibrations
what
your body make would
sand
produce
trout
enough
are
energy.
until the second half of the book.
Do what? Say again?
I don't think you learned what sand trout are until the second half of the book.
No, they don't introduce it until the second half anyway. But,
No.
but I don't know. I could go on about this forever.
Oh, well, that's kind of the point.
I know, but
I don't
I
know
do
how
have to
long
work
we've been
today
recording,
too. I didn't
honestly.
even pay attention what time it is yet.
Yeah. Well, what time is it?
It is almost 3 o'clock. We're getting there. I think we've been going at this for about 45 minutes.
Something like that.
Yeah.
We got time.
Well, let's try to get to wrapping up points. We've covered the visuals, the sound, the Zimmerman. We've covered various practical effects they did. A lot of it is obviously CG'd. We've covered aesthetics. I'll say that multiple times. We've nitpicked a few of the points that we felt.
Mm-hmm. Pither. Where was Pither?
Oh,
This is a character we noticed was not
Pither
there.
was there.
Was he the
He
guy
was-
who was just introducing everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I called it. Okay,
Yeah.
that was the character.
And he was the Baron's Mentat.
Yeah.
He was the one who was supposed to get the gas from Leto's tooth.
Mm-hmm.
But he
I
didn't.
liked how that went down a lot better.
Oh,
though.
yeah.
Well, my problem is the gas was supposed to be, kill you dead, and he got a blast right in the face.
Yeah, that's true. In the,
So for those who don't know,
in the book, he managed to turn around fast enough.
yeah, in the book he got out of the room.
Yeah.
And he wasn't even close to him because it was Pith who got there.
But I did like the way they did this one too. Like, I know it wasn't the same, but I liked how this
Turned
one was
on the
done
shield.
also where, well, he already had the shield on before he got too close, but then
Yeah.
he shot to the ceiling and hid in the ceiling
Well,
in the
also,
corner.
the
But
shield-
everyone else in the room died. Is that strong of a poison?
Yeah.
Well, they also showed how the shield really doesn't help with gas.
With the airflow,
Yeah, 'cause
right.
It's
Well,
slow.
he expected to get stabbed, like thinking that, oh, Leto's just been throwing on this act this entire time. All right, I'll come in real
Yeah.
close for your last word, buddy. Ha ha ha. Like, yeah, you're not going to stab me. And then fucking poison gas! And he screams and floats to the ceiling. And, like, cuddles
Or-
into a corner while
or once
everyone in the room dies.
Once they clear the room, you find him at there coughing and
Yeah.
wheezing, and then he ends up in a pool of tar or
yeah, whatever this
Yeah.
oil
Relay.
bag
Healing
thing.
Harkonnen tar.
yeah.
Ugh.
It was the
Ugh.
Bacta tank for them, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess, right?
Regrow.
Is it one of the, you know what I bet it might be? It's probably something from a few books further in, one of the growing vats that the one people use for making the artificial humans or
yes,
for doing
I just can't
regenerative
remember what
work.
they're called right now.
Yeah. Talaxu?
Talaxu. Yeah.
Talaxu. Sorry, yeah, no, we went down a big dune hole. She got into it. I did this.
Now, I'm not nearly as much of a Dune fan as you guys are, obviously, because you've gone further than I have.
I enjoyed it.
We're
And then
Duners.
someone...
We're Duners.
So you have Trekkies, you have Ringers. I guess the next one's Duners.
Duners.
Or Muad'Dibis, I don't know.
Oh,
Oh, that was another thing. Yeah, they didn't on how he got his name.
They haven't gotten to that point.
they haven't gotten
given
to
his
his
name.
name. They haven't even called him what.
Although they've
Oh,
gotten
you know what,
closer to
you're
the
right,
book, they're
you're
hinting
right.
towards where he's going to ask his name rather than being a.
You're
part of
right.
the
Yeah,
movie.
Yeah,
I did enjoy the little desert mouse.
No, I do like
yeah,
seeing,
there
and
too.
those are like legit the kind that come from Earth too. Those little elephant shrews
Yeah.
dancing through the desert.
Yep.
Dancing
Interesting little
through the
detail on that. They get really
desert.
close to one of those little mice, and you see the ear sweating,
Yeah.
and the sweat
And
comes down.
taking
and
it and
And
takes
eats
it. And,
yeah.
yeah,
So
like actually doing what you would do in order to survive in a desert, which was great.
Oh yeah. Another little thing they left out was Stilgar with his bat.
Oh, Stilgar's bat
Stilgar's bat. Yeah.
that he would use for communication. Yeah, I think there's a reason they left that one
That
out.
would have been so much fun.
Because the bat sings its message to you. It's a little genetically engineered bat thing that this guy could talk to, and it would fly away, and then it would
Give
get
it
to
a
the next
spit.
person and go, And then they would go, "Oh, thank you, little bat," and like rub its nose, and it'd go back to Stilgar, like a homing pigeon that could just.
What was that Robin Williams bat that he played that had the radio in his
Oh,
hand?
the one from Fern Gully.
Yeah. So that's where that bat came from.
Basically, I think so.
Stilgar's
Yeah.
bat. Right.
Yeah, I think it was supposed to be Stilgar's.
What?
Oh.
I'm freezing, Daddy.
He knows where the blanket is. He does.
Well, yeah, but there's a lap here, so.
Right. There's also a camera.
Oh yeah, it has to be on the camera.
Oh, he's paying attention to me. I better go over there.
Oh God. You can make your way. Walk without rhythm.
Oh, he definitely would. Although you can count 4 legs on this, he's a tripod when he runs around.
And maintain very happy that there was no pug in this Dune.
I still say the pug was the best part of
this
the
is a fight that we're having.
David Lynch's
Yeah.
Dune.
There was no
the
pug
would have died in Dune.
The Harkonnens took care of it. They loved the pug.
There was no Balicet.
There was no Balicet.
Yeah, that too. That's what I was trying to mention earlier.
But man, were there bagpipes.
Oh yeah, boy, out of nowhere, middle of this futuristic sci-fi awesomeness, one dude with bagpipes.
No, what do you mean one?
There was
one guy comes out with bagpipes, steps outside, and then there's a whole battalion of bagpipe players.
Yeah, but in this one there was only the one. There was no rest of them. It was just they land. They're having their big moment where the whole Atreides family arrives on Arrakis, and here's their big calling, and it's the one dude with bagpipes.
The one dude with bagpipe marches out, and then there's a whole bunch right outside next to him.
Were they outside next to him? Mm-hmm. I genuinely just noticed the one.
They were waiting for him, so as he would do his ceremonial, let's start the music. I'll step in front and hopefully take the bullet if anybody's going to kill the dude. Yeah. And then the rest of the bagpipes outside start playing, and then they march out, and everybody's wearing, suits and armor except for
Paul.
Paul isn't, and the Duke isn't wearing a helmet.
No.
Could not figure out why Paul was not in anything either. Is it because
his age probably, but he still should have had some sort of protection.
Still feels like he should have had something, and to maintain also not wearing all black.
Yeah.
Right.
And they show up in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
You saw the shadows. That was almost noon.
Yeah.
No, you don't do that. You show up at night.
Yeah.
I really feel like there were definitely moments in the film where it's like, okay, someone didn't use their brain when they were getting everybody moved around.
I think it was the difference between we need to be able to show this rather than have everything be in black. If we do everything in black, then they're going to say we're making fun of Lynch, or we're copying Lynch, or doing a Lynch.
Or if they did it all in black on a desert world, then, oh, look, it's like Riddick with worms instead, because it'd all be at night.
Right.
Like, I get it. You got to show the heat and the intensity, and they're not going to be doing everything in the dark.
Also feel like they should have just been in the water up until they left the planet to enjoy.
Oh, and they still lived on Caladan.
Swim the whole way out there.
Yeah.
Swimming in Caladan up until you have to get on the ship.
Just keep swimming.
Hey, we're not leaving for like 2.5 hours, right?
This is going to be the last time we get in here.
Hey, we're not leaving for 2.5 hours, right? Great. I'm going to go catch a riptide out in the ocean and catch you guys never.
What was the line they said about forget showering when you get to Arrakis? You have to.
Oh, you wash your ass with sand.
Yeah.
And I did like the moment where they just spent a moment going, that is what they say. That's what they say.
Yep.
That's what they say. And they go back to looking out at the desert in binoculars just to see if there's anything coming, and it's Dune. If there is, it's underground and you won't see it, so the binoculars aren't that handy.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've got worm sign! Bam, bam, bam.
Right.
Close the doors.
Yep.
So, let's see. So, a quick
just keep going.
cover is the well casted.
Yep.
Visuals by the cinematographer, well done. Editing,
sound effects are really good too.
Sound effects, the full audio spectrum was wonderful. I can nitpick like we have been, but other than that, this is a near perfect movie.
No, we're just over nerd nitpicking this at this point.
Yeah.
Everything was amazing. Don't not see this. You have to see it. Just watch Dune. If you're familiar with it and you've been on the edge about seeing the new one, you're not going to be disappointed.
Ignore what people
really
say
good.
online too, because there's a lot of people who are just it didn't live up to their nerd expectations. So, or they just got to complain about something.
Or it's people who say they know Dune, but if not, they don't know Dune.
Yeah. One of the worst ones I think is the people who are actually attacking the actors, thinking that They didn't cast Paul right. They didn't cast Chauncey right. They didn't cast Stilgar.
Really?
No, these people
Chauncey's
did.
So good.
I don't
the
think
person
they
they
missed
got
the
for
mark on
Chauncey was
I
amazing.
forgot her name, but
it's just
Mary Jane.
Mary Jane.
Is that what, now I'm trying to remember what it is because it was just like a one word name in the credits. I remember seeing it.
Oh.
And I don't remember what it is now, but
It begins with a Z. That's all I remember.
C, I thought.
Sure, someone. Yeah.
It's Chanty is her name, but her last name is Zen. She's Mary
Zendaya?
Jane.
Was it Zendaya?
Zendaya, yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah, and she's an awesome actress.
Yeah.
So with people out there in the wonderful internet land saying that, oh, these people aren't good enough because I felt it should have been something else, fine, go make the movie yourself.
I genuinely believe that people who make those reviews didn't watch the film in the first place.
Well, or they already had made up their mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Like, you decided you weren't going to like this when you went and saw it, and you just made sure to find something to hate about it.
And that's what the internet has given us, people like that. Because this is a very well put together movie. Again, it comes down to, one, knowing what the movie is, and then being able to nitpick from there. If you don't know, you don't know. It's still a solid story, beautifully visual. It's 2.5 hours long. And again, it's kind of why I give it, it's not the length, it's we're going to feed you just enough information and not spoon feed you, which is an awesome thing to do, which is why I can't give it 1, but I give it 2, because somebody who doesn't walk in, there's a good chance they're going to sit there and go, I don't understand this movie at all.
Oh, yeah, that's a risk with any Dune, anything that you watch, is if you aren't familiar with it or you've never seen anything, you're not going to know. Yeah. Which is kind of the suck part about the Dune series, is like if you don't understand the concepts that were going to be used to build the story in the first place, of like plans within plans and plots within plots and so on and so forth.
I can use, I'm hoping there's a director's cut that comes out, but I can use the example of Lord of the Rings. For anybody who did not know Lord of the Rings, it was a good example of why Tom Bombadil was not necessary.
Yeah,
right.
he was
And
not.
there was a lot of things.
He was fun, though.
He was fun, but what did he do? Oh, here's a little side plot story that has nothing to do with the story. I saved you, can move on and finish. The characters didn't grow from that moment. They didn't really learn anything from that moment. Right. They just realized that...
Wasted a month of their travel.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of time wasting in that book.
Oh, absolutely.
So
moving back to Dune, it's that same thing. If a lot of it, if you don't know, is not going to affect your enjoyment, but there is enough of the subtlety stuff that's left out, and that would help the story.
Bless you.
Like an unnecessary factors, they at least they show the grandfather's portrait. They show the bull. They implied, but they never. All they could have done is focus on the blood on the horn once, and that would have been volumes to say towards the audience.
But you can also get the feeling where, Leto is having a talk with Paul in front of what would have been Leto's father's grave, and Paul goes, "Well, grandfather fought bulls," and Leto just looks back at the grave and looks back at him and goes, "Yeah, and look where it got him."
Yeah. That was said enough.
And that wasn't a book line, though. To me, it would have been better. The maid's coming up, let's clean that off. And it's like, no, nobody cleans Grandpa's blood up.
Right. Well, no, and I understand that wasn't in the book with that whole conversation they had. But then
it did help.
It did help. It does definitely give you the sense of, like, no, like, the Atreides are going to go down fighting no matter what. And that's just the way they are.
Yep.
And then Paul, he always has his little golden bullfighter statuette that he stares at all the time to remind him of that. Like that was supposed to be like his grandfather fighting a bull and some artist rendition of it. But it was I did like the fact that for space bulls, they're normal cow heads, but they put little like frill ridges on the horns. They get like 3 or 4 on each horn. Like this was a baby one. It's supposed to grow like a comb of horns.
Yeah.
That's what makes space bullfighting even better.
And I think that goes to show at the time and Frank Herbert's expectations of the future was how much control would be, how much stuff really isn't going to change.
Yeah.
I mean, nowadays you talk about bullfighting, very few areas still see that as a good sport.
Right.
People are coming down on it. Surveillance, the capability of having that. If we have people who basically take over as computers, they get rid of computers, and we have mentats, we're still going to have other ways to acquire information, satellites, drones, whatever. So this is something I think Frank Herbert didn't really see and was kind of expecting things to stay the same. In the 60s, oh, hurricane hit. How'd you know? Well, 3 days out we could see a cloud.
Yeah.
Or now it's like, oh, we can see this weird blob hovering just outside of Africa, and it's going to be a hurricane and hit Florida in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think with Frank Herbert's idea of the future was that there was a whole scenario they haven't covered yet where, like, at one point mankind gives up on intelligent technology because they don't like it ruling them.
Just another thing they don't really.
Which is why they they do have spaceships. Yeah, they have spaceships. They have all this stuff.
Do not make a robot in the
image
form, in the image of human,
right,
or the ability to think like a human.
Right. Yeah. They just stick it to like basic equipment, toys, light robots that follow you around, which I thought those were cool. Mm-hmm. I would love to have a little disc-shaped robot that just floats around and hovers, and it's just a light source for me.
Mm-hmm. That would be fun.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
Could you imagine how much power that would use just to float around you?
Oh, God, right?
Yeah.
Unless it's a helium balloon, but then again, I don't think they're going to do that either.
No. So, I still thought it was fun that they still use hot air balloons to cart in the sand crawlers to gather the spice.
Yeah.
So here we are in the future. Why don't you just have a monstrously big ornithopter?
Well, if you think about it, if as long as you can inflate, because those things exploded into their size,
right?
That would be a decent way to alleviate some of the weight. Would be having lighter than air crafts.
That's fair.
But what's going to cause more energy? Having to sit there and instantly inflate a balloon, and have the power to instantly inflate it, or just come in with something that is literally powerful enough to be a sky crane, pick it up and go.
Fair.
Ornithopter, helicopter, rockets, something.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the spice mining vehicles and those treads were pretty awesome. The way the carryalls functioned, but then when they had the spotters, they were obviously weren't doing their job.
Right.
Yeah. It's the Duke group spots. Oh, is that a worm? Yeah, it's coming right our way. And
yeah.
I felt like the spotters did a very
we're great.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
And that was another part that did differentiate from the book is that in the book the craft was just gone. That would carry the harvester away. But
in the movie, the carryall comes by and fails to show that all the equipment's old. In the book, it was sabotaged and eliminated, so the Harkonnens kept that rescue option from happening.
Yeah.
And they also had more time. They spotted, it's like, oh, we got like half an hour. That's plenty of time.
Yeah.
Oh, we got like 10 minutes. Oh, we better get everybody out of there. Instead of, oh, you got 3 minutes. We better go.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Changing it up to a, hey, you've got 4.5 minutes. Get out.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, they gave the same hints, showing that the Duke was definitely more humane than the Baron. There was going to be a good change if this could happen, but at the same time, everybody had a look on their face going, well, we know this is a setup, and there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, no, everybody knew that they were all sent there to die, including Leto. And it was like, yeah, we're here.
Yep.
Poor Leto.
Awesome.
So, I think we're at a good point, unless anybody has any other things they want to do, mention, or say.
I want to hold us until the second movie comes out in 2 years. I'm going to hold off on everything.
I have heard that it was officially confirmed, though, right?
Yeah.
It fucking better be.
Warner Brothers was on the edge, saying, well, it's got to do good first. And then they saw the response and how well it did, and they're like, oh, okay, we're on board for
Fingers crossed for Dune Heretics. It's never going to go that far.
I'm holding out for God Emperor. Give me God Emperor.
Even better, God Emperor.
We'll see what happens.
I know.
All right. Thank you for listening to our spoilers.
Thanks, guys.
I'm John Simon. This is Victoria Sturgeon and Sam Sturgeon.
Hello.
Jeremiah's probably watching the chat as this because this is not live. I know.
Thank you for watching, chat. Maya, we love and appreciate you.
Yep. It'll probably actually be me, but who knows. Thanks for tuning in. This is Natasha, if anybody wants to know.
And Scooter has left us.
Scooter's left. All the other animals. We did not get borked at once. Lilu did not bork at us. Once we started recording,
it's a good day.
Quiet. That's right.
Good day.
Scooter whined a little bit.
But... Scooter whines all the time.
All the time.
So, all right. Thank you for listening, and we'll go ahead and cue those credits. All right, Cat, you can get on my lap.
Anytime, Cat. Kitty Cat.
Oh, I gotta hit the button.
Kitty Cat, go.
Gotta hit the button.
Hold on, mind powers activate.
Can we prescience the button off?
Oh yeah, let's do that.
It's not working.
Remember, know what my future self may eventually push the button.
You will hit the button.
Excuse me, kitty.
You really hit the button.
I'll probably hit the wrong button.
I hit the wrong tone as well.
Hit the button.
Yeah.